What was Kenobi's part-time job on Tatooine? On the sand-swept dunes of Tatooine, Obi-Wan Kenobi lived out the final years of his life in exile. He had failed, and the Jedi Order failed right along with him. After Emperor Palpatine's execution of Order 66 and the descent of Anakin Skywalker to the dark side, there weren't many of Kenobi's peers left, and the few that survived, like Yoda, did their best to keep a low profile. But while hiding in the desert of Tatooine, Kenobi did more than ensure Luke's safety. He took on a few odd jobs. What type of employment did Obi-Wan take on? And how did he earn enough credits for trade for goods and supplies? We'll discover the answers to these questions and more in today's underrated moment. Locking away his slender black and silver lightsaber in his hut was one of the hardest decisions Obi-Wan Kenobi could make. For most of his life, that blade had become more than a simple weapon used to cut down monstrous Cylons and mindless B-2 battle droids. The lightsaber was an extension of himself and his powers in the Force. But now, beneath the setting twin suns of Tatooine, Kenobi knew that in order to serve the Force, he needed to become a hermit. Memories of his triumphs during the Clone Wars, like the final pages of a book, ended without a new chapter to follow. For most of his years spent on the Outer Rim planet, Kenobi simply tried to subsist. From afar, he watched Beru raise Luke Skywalker as if he were their very own son. For that, at least Kenobi was thankful. But Obi-Wan knew he could be doing so much more. Given Luke's heritage and the power that flowed through his veins, Kenobi predicted he could raise Luke to be a far more accomplished Jedi than Anakin Skywalker. But Uncle Owen forbade it. Luke was his son, and even though the moisture farmer had never been particularly close with his adopted brother, he was painfully aware of how much anguish Anakin's absence wrought on his stepmother Shmi Skywalker. Owen and Beru simply couldn't handle the loss of their only child, Luke. But more than that, they didn't trust Kenobi to keep him alive. Without daily lightsaber training and expeditions with Luke to fill his time, Obi-Wan Kenobi found himself with hours to kill. He spent much of it recording his inner thoughts and past adventures in a leather-bound journal, which Luke would discover shortly after Obi-Wan's death aboard the first Death Star. But Kenobi did more than just write. He picked up a few jobs. Unlike most Tatooine residents, Kenobi quickly grew an affection for the brown-cloaked traders known as Jawas. Charmed by their cunning ways, Obi-Wan would occasionally barter with them in exchange for parts. Since the Tusken Raiders of the Dune Seas were often prey on the Jawas and their sandcrawlers, Obi-Wan saw an entrepreneurial opportunity. At least once, when Kenobi was short on credits, he offered his services as a bodyguard in exchange for T-16 Skyhopper parts, which he hoped to secretly gift to Luke Skywalker. In that particular battle, Kenobi single-handedly defeated a raiding party of sand people without ever lighting his humming blue blade. From the moment the Tusken ambushed the Jawas, to the moment the twin suns of Tatooine rose from beyond distant towering dunes, Kenobi forcibly battled them. Although the celebrated Clone Wars hero won the fight, he was amazed by how much the muscle in his lower back and the joints in his knees ached after the conflict. From that point on, he quickly realized that his memories of being one of the most lethal Jedi in the entire Order and the reality of his current abilities were quite different. A short time later, after defeating one of Jabba's bloodthirsty bounty hunters, Black Chrysanthemum, Obi-Wan Kenobi revealed that he regularly tended to a group of Banthas that lived nearby his home. Blue Bantha milk was one of the staples of a proper diet on Tatooine, so it's most likely that Kenobi used this herd as a source for not only his own daily calorie intake, but also for bartering. After all, even though he rarely treaded to the local markets, the few times he went there, they weren't happy to accept his black melons in exchange for other goods. With fewer resources to offer, Obi-Wan likely milked Banthas on a fairly regular basis and traded it for credits or other materials that he required. But these side jobs never took Kenobi's attention from the main goal of his time on Tatooine, protecting Luke Skywalker, a duty he would faithfully execute until his very last days.